In 2022, Disney will invite guests to voyage among the stars on board the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser at Walt Disney World. However, to create this new form of immersive environment, every aspect of the experience has to be believable, including the forms of transportation. So for today, let's discuss all of that. Up next. Hi there Waltoneers, I'm Jack and this is of course DSNY Newscast, and you know what, for today, let's just get straight into it. As Disney has stated that the Galactic Starcruiser will be an immersive vacation experience like no other, where you will actively live your Star Wars story, eating, sleeping and breathing in a galaxy far, far away. But to make this a reality, it's going to require a complex array of elements to work in harmony, such as the technology featured in the digital windows that should hopefully create the illusion of staring out into the vista of space through the use of half-domed collimated projection and infinity displays. And I've also previously discussed some of the activities, like the lightsaber dojo, that promises guests the ability to wield a lightsaber like never before. However, there is so much more to dive into in the future, like the choose your own destiny storylines, the interactive gameplay, the characters, the excursions, and of course the pricing, which has not yet been released at the time of this recording. Although most importantly, this whole Starcruiser experience hinges upon ensuring that the integrity of the storytelling and level of immersion remains intact throughout every step along the journey. And so particular attention has been paid to the thematic transportation, as after all, if this experience is meant to take place in space, then themed transportation is kind of important in successfully convincing every guest to suspend their disbelief for this 2-day, 2-night experience. So that brings us to the first component that will be crucial in setting the overall tone for the entire experience, and that is the arrival and launch. As we've seen in the concept art, how guests will be able to drive up and check in at the Starcruiser terminal, much like you do before a Disney cruise. Although this most likely won't be a typical check-in under the Disney name, but instead it will be carried out by the Shangri-La Starline, which is the fictional company that operates the luxury cruisers on the edge of the galaxy, such as this Halcyon Starcruiser ship that guests will be stepping aboard. However, as we can see from these fantastic aerial images by Bioreconstruct on Twitter, the exterior theming and landscaping has made significant progress. As I stated back in November of 2019 that trees would be used to obscure the sightlines of the backstage areas, whilst also kind of invoking that feeling of the forest moon of Endor. And now we can see that some trees have already been planted, and Disney is continuing to work on creating a berm to keep the outside world from seeing the rest of the building in these areas. However, despite trying to keep guests focused on the onstage areas at arrival, inevitably some people may catch a glimpse of the main building. But Disney has an answer for that in terms of the story, as in May, the My Disney Experience map was updated to officially include the Galactic Starcruiser's location adjacent to Disney's Hollywood Studios. And if we zoom and enhance with some Photoshop trickery, we can see that the building has been cleverly disguised as an Earth ground-level launch terminal, with shuttle pods blasting off into space, thus keeping the integrity of the storytelling intact. But then that brings us to the transportation up to the Starcruiser, as after check-in, you'll be invited to step aboard a launch pod and blast off into hyperspace, where you'll dock with a Carillion MPO 1400 class Starcruiser, officially named as the Halcyon. Now obviously this isn't going to be transportation in the traditional sense, as you're not physically going to be going anywhere. But instead, what this will be is a standing simulator that will be able to move with the same amount of pitch and yaw as the ITS Resistance Transport Shuttle that is used within the Rise of Resistance queue to take you up to the Star Destroyer. And in my opinion, that level of movement is very convincing. But in addition to this launch pod, there will also be half-dome infinity displays at the top that will complement the storytelling, as you will see your pod approach and then dock with the Halcyon. But then once on board the Halcyon, this is where the majority of your Star Wars adventure will play out, as it will be a 360-degree completely immersive environment where you can even cosplay in full costume if you want. And considering that you're meant to be in space, guests won't be able to casually leave the confines of the building like other Disney hotels, as that would kind of ruin the illusion for everybody else if guests could easily walk out of a door and then see daylight. Although there seems to be some sort of indoor courtyard that may have some natural sunlight that will surely be explained as an artificial sun deck. And of course, Disney will accommodate guests who feel claustrophobic and wish to leave the experience entirely. But most likely that won't be necessary, as included as part of the itinerary will be a planned excursion down to the planet of Batuu. And so to get to Galaxy's Edge, Disney will be incorporating themed transportation that will actually be real transportation. As we saw in the blueprints back in 2018, that next to the courtyard and on the starboard side of the ship will be the transport hall that has a gangway that connects directly to the transportation. However, since then, thanks to BioReconstruct, we can now see this transport hall has been fully constructed, and it seems that the plans have changed a little bit. But the core idea remains the same, of a bus pulling up close to the building, and then with the use of a gangway it will prevent guests from seeing the outside world or even the actual bus that they'll be boarding, as from their perspective they will walk from the launch bay into the themed interior of the shuttle, complete with digital space windows, lighting and sound effects, and perhaps some small movements as well. But then after this transportation makes the short journey over to Galaxy's Edge, it needs a corresponding themed transport hall and gangway, which thanks to BioReconstruct, that is what we can see is under construction backstage with these foundations showing the transport corridor. And this means that the previously unused gate next to the First Order supply store, near Kylo Ren's TIE Echelon, is where Disney will construct all the necessary themed infrastructure for the arrivals and departures, perhaps similar to this scene from Solo. And I wouldn't be too surprised if we see some sort of new theming referencing the Chandrila Starline terminal show up around Black Spire Outpost as well. And in terms of what the excursion will include, well, we're still awaiting more details. And although it is certainly possible that this may just be a visit to Galaxy's Edge during normal operating hours, considering the extent to which Imagineering is carefully developing the Starcruiser to be entirely immersive, I can't help but think that being in a crowded Galaxy's Edge within normal hours with regular park guests wearing the most expensive day ever shirts might ruin the illusion, especially considering ironically it will be the Starcruiser guests that will be having the most expensive day ever. And so with the incredible attention to detail that is going into making every aspect as real as possible, including themed transportation, that is why I still lean towards previous rumours about the possibility of exclusive activities, character interactions and unique missions around Galaxy's Edge for the Starcruiser guests. Although if this is the case, it would surely mean that the excursion would have to take place in the early hours of the morning before park opening, or perhaps after hours after the park closes on select days throughout the week. But of course the information regarding the excursions remains unconfirmed for the time being. However, be sure to stay subscribed with notifications on, as throughout the rest of the year I'll be coming back and covering other aspects of the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser and discussing more official details like the pricing, as and when Disney release them. But now, it's over to you, the Waltoneers, as I would like to know what are your thoughts and opinions about the Galactic Starcruiser and what we know so far, and also if you could plus the transportation or the excursion down to Galaxy's Edge, then what would you do and why? And of course, don't forget to put the timestamp for where the hidden Mickey appeared somewhere in today's video along with your suggestion or your comment, so therefore that way you're in with a chance to win these official DSNY Newscast enamel pins. And congratulations to this Waltoneer here for winning this suggestion from a previous video where we were talking all about the Tron Light Cycle Run roller coaster coming to the Magic Kingdom. And so that's it for today, so be sure to go and subscribe down below if you're new to the channel, hit that notification bell if you've already subscribed and would like to receive notifications, and also if you've enjoyed today's video then be sure to give this video a massive thumbs up as it really does help this channel out. And I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.